Hey everyone, this is Sean Brown again. Today we're going to be talking about incident reports, what specifically would require an incident report, as well as some of the key things that you need to include in every incident report you write so that you can be writing good quality reports. In a module later on, we'll be talking specifically about what some components of a good versus a bad report are, as well as a quick reminder about what's going to require an incident report. But this is just the basics of what needs to go into it, kind of to get you started off on it. So, an incident report at its most basic level is written anytime a policy is violated. This may include a housing and living guide policy or a code of student conduct policy. Some examples of this are alcohol violations or intoxications, smoking on campus, possession or use of weapons, harassment, destruction or vandalism of either street property, and failure to comply. This is by no means everything. This is why it's important to take a look at the presentations and really keep a track of what falls under the different codes so that you can know fully what would constitute a violation of one of those policies. So here's some things that you need to make sure you're including in every single incident report you write. Text written in a third person, which is going to feel awkward the first couple times you write it, but really does help kind of make it a much more streamlined narrative. Rather than saying me or I, you would write your full name, your title and your full name, and this helps whoever's reading it to understand who exactly is doing what, rather than trying to figure out, okay, who is this I person if they don't know you and aren't familiar with the fact that you'd be handling the situation. Next is date and time, as well as location, including the room number, floor, building number, building full name. This just helps us to really track, kind of the basics of what, where and when in a situation, and then the who would be filled in by the title and names all in caps. The example I provide is Residence Life Coordinator Sean Brown. So anytime I write a report, that's how I would spell my name out for the first time. After that, I'd be able to write it in a condensed version of RLC Brown for any second, third, fourth uses, so on, so etc. Using direct quotes is very, very helpful for whoever's going to be hearing this case after you deal with it. If a student goes into detail and says, oh yeah, I have a baggie of marijuana in my backpack and 2 bottles of Jack Daniels, that helps the person who's following up say, okay, this is why the RA came in and talked to you, talk a little bit about this situation. It just helps the conversation move forward in a productive manner. Using an appropriate amount of detail is very important here, so that's not providing way too much information. And we'll go into more depth about that later on, about what's an appropriate amount, but whoever is reading your report should be able to tell from start to finish what happened without having to ask questions or look into it for more information. And a brief summary is really helpful. You're required to do that for every report, but especially at the end of a long report, they're beneficial so that the next morning when someone's taking a look, they can understand, okay, here's the basics of what was going on in the situation. I need to respond to this one first. So every report you put in should start in a similar way. It should have the date, time, exact location, names and titles of those involved. So the example I provide is on Tuesday, March 12th, 2018 at 4:14 p.m. Residence Life Coordinator Sean Brown was contacted by RLC Kaylee Wolf regarding a noise complaint coming from 153 Wadsworth Hall. RLC proceeded to 153 West, and the narrative will continue. As you can see here, I have the time, date, and location. In the first sentence, I introduce myself as the person who's handling the situation. I include who's relaying the information to me and what's going on in the situation, all in the first 2 sentences, really. As you'll see, I put in RLC Kaylee Wolf as opposed to Residence Life Coordinator Kaylee Wolf because I already was able to abbreviate that after I used it for my name. Some important notes: anytime you're writing a follow-up report, if you are asked to do a follow-up incident report by public safety or your professional staff, always making sure you're leading it in with 3 asterisks, followed by 3 asterisks. This helps anyone who's reviewing the report to say, okay, I know which report this is coming off of, and it's something I need to link in so that when someone reads both, they'll understand the full narrative. The next piece is, as you can see, you need to make sure you're always logged in using your ISO when you're writing a report. This will help give you access to some features and log who's writing the report most effectively. As you can see, it says you are currently authenticated as Sean Brown, and then it gives you the option for not you. Make sure that always says your name. The piece that is most closely tied to that is your access to the photo lookup or the information lookup. So if you click, you must click the binocular icon next to name and organizations when you're looking up who's involved. This will prompt you to enter in first name, last name, or ID number. Once you do that, it'll auto-populate once you've selected the correct person. So that you can pull it up without having to enter in all this information by yourself. The only thing you have to enter in is the select the role of each person. This is the reason you must always use binocular icon is that if you just try to enter this in by hand, it will not register when it's going to create the report after this, and it'll show up as blank and show up as no one was involved in the situation other than your narrative. So you must use the binocular icon. Again, you must use the binocular icon. I cannot stress that enough, so I'll keep saying it. So, things to not include are excessive amounts of detail. So, the resident coughed during the incident. I took a right and a left and a right and approached the room on the right-hand side of the door. I took 500 paces from start to finish. These are things that really just confuse and murky up the narrative. Using your opinions or guesswork is not appropriate, so you should be using facts. So RLC Sean Brown kicked the ball down the hall as opposed to, I think RLC Sean Brown kicked the ball down the hall. This just helps to provide the most accurate representation of who was doing what and what was going on. And then also avoid including any information after public safety arrives. So an example of this would be public safety arrived, or at 4 a.m., public safety officer Harry arrived on scene and took control of the situation. That's how you should end that report. Public safety files their own case or their own report after each situation, and so we don't want to have overlapping information with them. I've included a sample report. This report is in the LARG as well, and so I'm going to allow you to read that there. I will also be uploading a little how-to that shows how to fill out this report fully. So you can take a look at that there, and I will include a little bit of detail from the sample report. This is mostly there for you to have a reference should you need to look at this at any point throughout the year and see, oh, okay, this is how I start a report. So that's everything I have for the basics of what to include for your reports. Incident reports are incredibly important to give us a full understanding of what's going on in the situation, so please make sure